I'm Yoram Solomon, and this is the Book of Trust. Where do you need trust? Hopefully by now I convinced you that you need trust in your organization. In fact, you need more trust in the organization than you currently have. Even if you have a reasonable level of trust, you could use more. But who needs to trust whom? Regardless of the specific organization, you need three types of trust. The first is internal and horizontal. It's internal because it doesn't involve people outside of the organization. It's horizontal because it is trust between people at the same level in the organization. It's between peers, within teams at any level in the organization. This could be between the members of the board of directors or trustees, trust between the members of the executive leadership team, trust between a team of production line employees or any other same level team. It is the type of trust that allows members in the team to hold constructive disagreements. The second type of trust that you need is internal and vertical. Once again, it does not include people outside of the organization, but this time it is trust across different hierarchical levels in the organization. It is the trust between a leader and his or her team, in both directions. It is the trust between the board and the chief executive. It is the trust between the chief executive and the rest of the executive team. It is the trust that allows a higher level organization officer to give lower level employees the autonomy that they need instead of bureaucracy and formalization. And the trust that allows those employees to be accountable for their actions instead of exhibiting CYA behavior, sticking to policies, and focusing their efforts into staying out of trouble. Finally, the third place where you need trust is externally. The organization doesn't exist in a vacuum. It has customers, suppliers, and other stakeholders who interact with it regularly. The focus of this book, specifically in part 3, is to help build trustworthiness. If customers don't trust the company, they will not buy products and services from it. If voters don't trust the party or the elected officials, they will not vote for them in the next elections. If members don't trust the nonprofit organization, they will not donate money and will not renew their membership. If parents don't trust your school, they will not send their children to study there. As much as you might like to believe that the trust your suppliers have in you is not important to you, it is. Companies have been known to stretch payment terms of their suppliers if their suppliers have no choice and that they, the customers, are always right. But that's not the case. If your suppliers don't trust you, you will not get the favorable payment terms that your competitors may enjoy, putting you in a disadvantage, and when you need them the most, they may not be there for you. On the other hand, if your suppliers do trust you, they will be there for you when times are hard and not only when times are good. Trust and loyalty. Would you trust someone who is loyal to you? My gut feeling is that the answer is yes, but let's explore this a little. Uncharacteristically, I checked the dictionary definition of the word loyal. It is defined as being faithful to one's sovereign, government, state, oath, commitments, obligations, leader, party, cause, or to any person or thing conceived as deserving fidelity. It seems that the key word here is faithful. Faithful is defined as being strict or thorough in the performance of duty, true to one's word, promises, vows, steady in allegiance or affection, reliable, believed, and finally, trusted. Someone who is loyal to you is someone you can trust. You can trust them to do what they promised without supervision. You can expect them to meet their commitment. You expect them to perform with fidelity, and you expect them not to argue, challenge, or second guess you when they do it. But what would make someone be loyal to you? Is it the fact that you pay their paycheck? That helps, but it's not enough. For someone to be loyal to you, they need to trust you. They need to know that what you are asking them to do is important. They need to know that your requests are not arbitrary. They need to know that even if they don't readily know why you are asking them to do something, it must be important enough for them to do without asking questions. They must trust you. Why is it important to know who to trust? Consider the 4 combinations of your decision to trust or not to trust someone and whether they are trustworthy or not. What could be the consequences? Before I answer this question, tell me if this scenario sounds familiar. Your boss asks you to send an email to a customer, a supplier, another employee, or anyone else. However, she had also asked you to show it to her before you send it. Let's analyze this. Your boss gave you the general direction of what needs to be in this email. You took a day to get to writing it, that's day 1. You wrote the email and sent it to your boss for her approval. It took your boss a day to get to reading it, that's day 2. After reading it, she sent you an email back correcting a few things in your email. Those are things that were not clear to you because you don't have the big picture that she does. It took you a day to get to her email. That's day 3. You now have made the change requested and sent it back to her for approval. It took her another day to get to it. We're at day 4. She read it and realized that one of your changes might cause another problem. You had no idea because you still don't have the big picture. So she sent you an email back asking for another change. This email sounded a bit more reprimanding. It took you a day to get to it. We're at day 5. You had made the change and sent it back to her. It took her a day to get to it when she finally replied with, "That's great, send it." We're at day 6. It took you a day to get to this email. After all, there are other things on your plate. So we're at day 7, and then finally you sent it to the right people. Except that due to the force of habit developed in the past 7 days, you sent it to your boss again instead of the people you were supposed to send it to. Within yet another day, day 8 now, she realized the mistake and called you. She did it over the phone this time, but seemed frustrated with your incompetence in having to rewrite the same email 3 times only to then send it to her by mistake. After the call, you immediately sent it to the right person. The job is done, and it only took 8 days. Beyond the time wasted, you feel frustrated with how the process went. You are not motivated and don't feel trusted. You won't do your best work if you know that it will be modified by your boss, possibly more than once, based on information that you don't have, and she does. Your boss is frustrated with your incompetence, ignoring the fact that she didn't share the big picture with you first. Let's consider the alternative. Your boss could have called you to her office. She gave you the big picture of what needs to be done. She explained the behind-the-scenes dynamics and gave you all the information you needed to send the right email to the right person the first time. She left it to you to do it and didn't insist on receiving the final version for her approval. You would, in this case, feel empowered and trusted. You put your best effort into it because you knew that nobody would check it after you. It only took you 1 day to finish it and send it. Time to completion, 1 day. If you don't have competent people who share your values working with for you, then you don't have the right people in place. But if you have the right people in place, give them the big picture and trust them to do their jobs. They will live up to that trust and show you that they are trustworthy, and you would save 7 days. The table shows you what happens in all 4 possibilities. If you trust someone you shouldn't, you will get surprised badly and regularly. Things that should have happened don't. Your career might be in danger, and you have the ultimate responsibility for what happens in your team. You cannot throw them under the bus because you have the ultimate responsibility. This could lead to some dangerous situations. Lives may be lost. You should never trust untrustworthy people. Or you don't trust someone who is untrustworthy. Well, at least you're not trusting them. You must micromanage them because that's the only way to get them to do something. Could it be because you don't trust them? We will address this in the sixth law of trust later. If not, should you even have them on your team? Maybe you should either help them become trustworthy or replace them altogether. 3. You don't trust someone who is trustworthy. You're wasting time on micromanagement when you don't need to. But not only that, you are demotivating the other person to the point they may resign, leave, or just learn not to do anything beyond the absolute minimum. After all, what's the point in trying hard if you continue to micromanage them and not let them make their own mistakes and learn from them? The only economically and socially viable combination is to trust someone who is trustworthy. You don't waste time on micromanagement, things run smoothly and on time. You really benefit from the economics of scale of having people on your team without having to spend time managing them. People are empowered and they rise to the occasion.